This video will show you a 3-step law of attraction process for becoming your best future self right now in the present moment. I'm going to show you an easy way to go about it so that you're able to actually wire it in. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to be sharing more about understanding how we can quote-unquote break the habit of being ourselves. Now this is actually a book by Dr. Joe Dispenza. I remember the first time I saw this book, I was in a sauna at the gym and there was somebody that was reading it, and I remember thinking to myself, why would you want to break the habit of being yourself? Like, isn't the whole purpose of life maybe to just become more of who you really are? But the context of the way the book puts it is that there are habits we have to who we think that we are, and these habits keep us within a perpetual loop of thinking the same thoughts, of having the same emotions, and of doing the same things. So the idea is the more that we break those habits, the more that we break outside of it, the more we expand our self-image so that we're really able to become more of who we are meant to be. So this video in a way is going to kind of summarize some of the ideas in those books and explain how you can apply it in a very practical and easy way. Now, the first step to this process is understanding that with the law of attraction, we are always getting a reflection of who we are being. And with that reflection, it's about understanding that there are habits within how we think, how we feel, and how we act. And some of those habits and with the way we act are things that we do repetitiously every day. The feelings are going to be coming from the same thoughts that we have, and they're all intertwined into the same type of thing. Now the key to this is knowing that the first step is about the awareness. We must become very aware of what we are thinking. We must become very aware of the thoughts we have, the actions we take, and the feelings we have in order to really then decide that that's not who we want to be anymore. So if you want to follow along, what you could do is write this down, and this is something that you could do, is write down all of the habits you have, write down all the major momentum thoughts that you might have. Maybe it's repetitious thoughts of I'm not enough, this can't happen, I have to go to this job today, I don't enjoy this job. All of these things, write them down on a list so that you can see them, so that you can become more familiar with them. Now, and he says, Dr. Joe Dispenza, that the word meditation actually means to become familiar with. So if you were to become very aware of what you're thinking, in a way, you're becoming very familiar with those thoughts, with those feelings, and with those actions. So the idea behind this is what you want to do is become aware of what was priorly on complete autopilot. Who we are is normally a perpetuation of an unconscious point of view. We are just continuously doing what we think we're supposed to be doing. We're not even aware of it. You might even realize this maybe if you go to work and you take the same route to work every day and you completely forget about where and how you just got to work because it was on autopilot. In the same way, the behaviors we have, most of what we do is on autopilot. So the first step to this process is becoming familiar with all of these characteristics, all of these momentum of thoughts, all of these habits, so that we know that we can start to become aware of it, and we can set what step 2 is, which is a trigger. So you become aware of it, and then step 2 is what you decide to do is you're going to redirect and revert yourself with a trigger. So this is what he calls just saying the word change. You might just say that. I've said this in prior videos. It's something that I do as well. The idea, and this is what you do, either when you're in the experience, so say you're doing something and you find yourself catching yourself thinking similar thoughts that are on autopilot, that are like, I can't do this, or I'm not enough, or whatever it is, what you literally do is you say the words change, and I like to add in there to do some type of gesture, because when you get your physiology involved, it makes it so it really wakes you up. So I'd say the word change like this, and what that does is it kind of snaps you out of that autopilot thinking. You're in a way setting a trigger for yourself. Now, the other thing you can do, and with the list that you created, what you do is you set an intention that when you fall back into those patterns, you will remember that you are changing. That's not who you want to become familiar with anymore. You want to change and revert that. So you make that intention, And then what you do is in the second step, you imagine different scenarios where you might be going into situations and thinking that way, and then you imagine yourself saying change. So in a way, what you're doing is you're visualizing yourself going into those situations, and you're visualizing yourself saying change before the actual experience, so that in a way you can snap yourself out of it. So this is the first two steps. These are very powerful. This will make you very aware of who you are being. This will make the unconscious habits conscious, and once we are conscious of them, we can actually decide if this is something we want to choose to continue to perpetuate it. The idea is that once we make something that was unconscious conscious, it then becomes a choice, because before it was on complete autopilot where we weren't even aware that we were doing it. Now the third and final step is all about wiring in the new best self-image, and doing this by creating new associative memories. Now this is both physical and in our mind. We do this in both ways, and what we do is we start to act the way that we prefer. So you remember that list that we wrote in step 1. Now what we do is we write a list of how we prefer to be. We write a list that says, I want to be this way when I speak to people. I want to feel more confident. I want to have these kind of thoughts when I go into this environment. I want to do all of these things, and you write down all of these characteristics. How do you see yourself? What is the best ideal for yourself? And this is something that he also talks about. He says every day what you want to do is you want to ask yourself the question, what is the best ideal for myself for today? How can I act, and how do I prefer to be? You start asking these questions, your brain starts looking for the answers. What is the way that our brain normally directs us? It's normally asking us, why can't I accomplish this? Questions that kind of bring us down. Start to ask yourself the question, what is the best possible version of myself today? How can I be acting? What am I passionate about today? As we ask ourselves those questions, we start to find new answers. So the point to this is to write down all the positive characteristics of how you prefer to be, and then to do the same thing you did in step 2, and to imagining yourself going into certain situations and imagining yourself acting in those specific ways. Imagine yourself carrying yourself in those ways, feeling those emotions, thinking those thoughts, and having those habits. And as you do that, you can start to create memories of you being that way by going out into the world and doing those things, but also by visualizing and imagining certain scenarios that would wire that new state of being in. So this is also about understanding that as we associate in, and we start to disassociate first with who we were before and start to associate with who and how we prefer to be, we start to bring that more into our awareness. Now this is also an NLP technique, and actually I'll link in below the video a self-image meditation that I did a couple weeks ago that was very powerful for being able to do that exact thing. It uses dual induction technology to reprogram a lot of the affirmations we have, and it also allows us to disassociate with the old self-image and then to make it brighter and brighter, the new self-image of how we prefer to be. So I'll link that below, and you guys can check that out as well. And so remember, it's a simple 3-step process. All you have to do is become familiar with what is priorly unconscious or we weren't really aware of. Become familiar with what that is, write that down on a piece of paper, and then decide that you're going to become more aware of those things. Secondly, create a trigger, something such as change, bring in your physiology. Realize that as you wake yourself up from those autopilot minds, you can then redirect yourself to how you prefer to be, which is the third step of wiring in the new self-image, understanding that as you do things that wire that self-image in, as you visualize associative memories that you can create, you start to relate to that new self-image in a powerful way. Ask yourself the question every day, what is the preferred ideal version of myself? How do I prefer to be? And as you start asking these questions, you'll find that you start to get better results. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already. Also, hit that little notification gear so that you're able to see the daily videos that I do. Also, I put a free PDF below in the description box on the top 3 LOA techniques that changed my life. So feel free to check that out as well. And as always, I will see you guys on the next vid. Peace, much love, namaste.